All right, I've done a 40-minute review on this guy, so you can check that link out if you want to see all the details. But this is the summary of what you get for $100. So this is the Baseus Blade 2 power bank. It comes with a tiny little cloth pouch that fits the power bank pretty well. It also comes with a USB to USB-C cable. I've tested this guy. This is a 5 amp cable. It'll transfer 100 watts at 20 volts. This guy here can only put out about 63 watts, and so this cable is more than capable of fully being used with this power bank. So this guy here has a 46 watt hour battery, and so it will charge up pretty much any of your cell phones at full speed. It'll charge laptops, it'll charge tablets. It can put out 65 watts out of its USB-C 1 port. Technically, I've only seen it do up to 63, but it gets pretty close to that 65 watt claim. It has 2 ports. If you plug in 2 different devices, it'll do 45 watts out of the first C1 port, and it'll do 20 watts out of the second C2 port. Actual speeds are more like 43 and 19 watts, but it gets pretty close to the total 65 watt transfer. If you plug it into a USB-C charger, it will draw up to about 63 watts to charge itself back up. Now, charging at that high speed, it does have some thermal issues where the batteries will warm up, and about 40 minutes into the charge, about 50-60% done, it'll say, hey, I'm going to stop charging at 63 watts. I'm going to throttle back to 30 watts. And so it'll take an hour and a half or so to fully charge this guy. It can't charge at its full speed the whole time. Now, I have seen it give 65 watts out continuously pretty much the whole time. So I think it can generate 65 watts for about 40 minutes, and then the 46 watt battery, 46 watt hour battery is depleted at that point. So this guy has a display on it. The display will tell you the percent charged, and it will have a nice display for the voltage and the amperage going in or out of C1 and C2. There's also a companion Bluetooth app where you can put a like a 20 characters message on the display. When it goes into screensaver mode, you can put a phone number or an email address or something to get it back to you if you want to. Other than that, the app allows you to set this thing to shut down after a certain number of hours, so charge these things for a certain number of hours and then shut down. You can also double tap. So if you double tap this guy, it'll have a little A with a circle that goes into kind of low power mode, and it'll basically power something for 4 hours, even if it's not drawing too much current. So if you need to charge up tiny little devices that don't draw enough current to keep this guy on all the time, you can put it in the low power mode. If you want to take it out again, you double tap, wait a half a second or so, and that little A will disappear off the screen. Well, my double tap was too fast, so let's do a double tap with slightly slower taps. Well, let's try the double tap again. Tap, tap. Okay, there the A went down. So if you plug in 2 devices, the second port drops down to 12 volts is what I've seen. So you can charge 2 laptops as long as one of them works at 12 volts and the other works at 20 volts. So C1 gets priority, it gets the 20 volt output, it gets the 45 watts. C2 will drop down to like 12 volts. You could also do 2 different voltages like 20 and 5 volts, for example. So the 2 ports are independent. Either one of them can do 20 volts, but not at the same time. So this guy here, on the back, it claims greater than or equal to 75% efficiency, and I've tested it to be about 76% efficiency. So it takes about 48 watt hours to charge that 45 watt hour battery, and then you get about 35 watt hours out. So when you have power coming out, the battery gets depleted after it's transferred about 35 watt hours. So it's not the it's a 12 amp hour capacity in the cells in here. And there's basically 3 pouch cells down here. There's some control electronics in the display up there. So it's pretty thin, it's relatively lightweight, it's probably about the size of 2 cell phones side by side, and yet it can power your laptop and recharge your laptop most of the way up, depending on the size of the battery in your laptop. It'll really do good for tablets and cell phones. It'll charge them up at full rate. This guy does USB-C, 5, 9, 12, 15, and 20 volts is what it's capable of. So it pretty much does all the voltages on USB-C. So I've been pretty impressed with it. It delivers a decent amount of power pretty quickly. It's not the largest capacity battery bank, but it's also not big, heavy, and chunky. So size and weight wise, you get a smaller power bank, but it has a decent amount of power. So you can use this to top up a laptop if you need to. Pretty much the only downside of this guy is the cost of, if you compare costs per watt hours, it's a little on the premium end there. But functionality wise, it does everything I wanted it to do. And so I'm pretty happy with this as a kind of premium, high power, but portable small device.